Why was old school anime so polarizing?
I think it's time we blow this scene. Get everybody in the stuff together. Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's jam.
Now, I want to do a quick clarification when I talk about old school anime. I'm talking about 90s, 80s, 70s, not 60s, 'cause I don't know 60s like that, but 90s, 80s, 70s is kind of the range I'm going for. Also, I'm not going to sit here and act like I've watched all of the old school anime or even the stuff I'm going to talk about. I've watched a good bit of it, but I'm not going to act like I've watched all of that. I just know portions of it. I know like how great it was at the time. So thank you for that disclaimer. Let's go. Now, first, I want to talk about why I'm making this video. Recently, I've just been watching anime, like just watching as much as I can, and I'm really starting to like understand why anime now is such just meshed all together. Like, it's not as much uniqueness as it was back then. Now, obviously, that's the case because tropes have already been used and different setups have already been used. But I'm just looking at it like shows like MHA, Demon Slayer, Black Clover. And don't get me wrong, I love these new gen anime. You know, a few of them are actually in my top 10. But when I'm looking back at the tropes they have now, I see where it's coming from, and I understand why the old school anime was such a gem for its time. Just looking back at everything about them, like, I'm gonna explain them, like shows like Initial D, shows like Fist of the North Star, Dragon Ball, Yu Yu Hakusho, Inuyasha, Cowboy Bebop, Akira, Sailor Moon, the original Pokemon, Trigun, Slam Dunk, Ghost in the Shell, Berserk, the original one, not this new stuff, the actual OG one, Rurouni Kenshin, Neon Evangelion and stuff. And I'm looking at these shows and I'm like, there's so much good stuff about them. One, something about the feel of that old classic animation where a basic color palette, I kind of like it. I'm not gonna lie, I do enjoy it. Along with, oh my goodness, the musical score. Me personally, I feel like back then it was such a goal to get it over to the West and get it more popularized in the West that they took a lot of aspects from Western culture, whether that be fashion, hip hop, music, just all of that, and they incorporated it into the anime. Now, obviously, they don't do that as much because it's already popular, so they can kind of move on with how they want. But I feel like because of that, it actually like was able to make a change over here, and people were able to connect to it more easily and efficiently. And I feel like that's also why they were so great. Looking at the musical score alone, let's look at Cowboy Bebop, probably known for having the best musical score. Initial D, Akira, Dragon Ball's old musical score was amazing. Slam Dunk, these had great musical scores, and Inuyasha was alright. And I feel like that was something unique to look at. If you want to look at like fashion and how they took a lot of stuff, like Yu Yu Hakusho alone, amazing fashion. I feel like that, and like I always say, Yusuke Urameshi has some of the best fashion in all of anime. To me personally, Slam Dunk, the literally basketball, the Western culture from basketball was popularized in Japan because of Slam Dunk. Like, obviously, it was other reasons, but I heard that was like a big reason why it was so popularized. What else? Trigun, Pokemon, different shows like this. Dragon Ball, of course, like had a great fashion sense, and I feel like it was like influenced by Western culture. I'm not saying all of it was, but I'm saying like I feel like a good majority of it was. Looking at story plot alone, it feels so original. Like cowboys in space just like popping off fighting. Trigun, you know what I'm saying? Cowboy Bebop, that's in this whole unique lane. Like if anybody tries to do that now, it's like we know what you're getting that from. But like, it was so unique and stuff like that. Dragon Ball, Fist of the North Star, apocalyptic era, like Fist of the North Star, even Dragon Ball a little bit. It's unique to itself, and it's like you see that. What else? It's just shows like that were so original and started its own trope that it makes sense. And like now when you have newer shows that do the same thing, you tell that they're, I don't want to say copying, but you can tell like where they're getting from and how they're trying to put their own spin to it, where it doesn't make as much sense sometimes. And it's just something about it, like just that cool, like nice pacing, because now stuff is paced really fast, which it has to be. It has to grab the attention of the audience faster and quicker so that it can be more engaged, and it's some more of a money business. Again, you still have authors, mangakas that are doing their best to like make everything, you know, so unique, but in all, it's still a business. It's like the rap game, the music industry, the acting, Hollywood, everything's a money grab at this point. And so stuff is getting paced very fast. But back then, it was like it works at its own pace. Audience was more tuned in to stay locked in and watch the series, and I feel like that's why it was so good. I always say, even looking at One Piece, how it's able to keep that like slower pacing, I feel like that's why it's so successful now, still today. The one thing I will critique about One Piece is that I personally like its older art style, like before the time skips. I feel like after the time skip, it moved to a more modern art style. I loved the older art style. Like obviously East Blue Side was like but like getting into Impel Down, Marine Forward, Saboody, like that art style, I loved it. Thriller Bark, that was an art style I loved, and I feel like that's what 90s anime had, was a nice art style. Obviously people want to get, you know, higher action, higher resolution and stuff now, but back then, me personally, I enjoyed that. Don't get it confused. Hey, Demon Slayer drop it and, you know, go crazy. Jujutsu Kaisen, Chainsaw Man, I love that. Don't get me confused. I do love me some good art, some good fight scenes, some good animation, but I do have a sense of nostalgia for that older art style. I mean, I love it. And then we can't go without talking about just main characters, or characters are all like back then. Like there's such big figureheads like Goku, of course, Yusuke, Spike, Inuyasha, kind of, I don't know really, Ash, the OG Ash, amazing, Guts from Berserk. Like you have figureheads in the anime community because of that, and I feel like that's so recognizable. Like looking at the status of like these old classic animes, I love it, you know what I'm saying? I love just to see it. Of course, you're always gonna be there. And then obviously the assumption can be made, but the fight scenes is not as smooth or fluid. That's cool. They probably did reuse frames, and I'm not gonna say I like enjoy like their fight scenes as much as I do like the newer animes. Obviously evoke a different emotion out of their fight scenes, but don't get confused. They had emotion in the old school stuff. Everybody knows about Gohan versus Cell, the emotion packed there. Stuff like that, like Guts versus Griffin, Yusuke in the Dark Tournament, bro. Like this is stuff like, sure, might not have been the best animation, but you could never say the emotion was not put in. These voice actors went up and above to make sure that they expressed as much as they could through these animated characters, and I just think that's something that you can't get as much from today. And I'm talking about in dub, because obviously sub is like different, but in dub they were doing that. Like dub, old school always feels amazing. Like new school stuff, it's hard to really get with, but I cannot go back and watch Dragon Ball in sub. Like if I'm not hearing that English voice, it's gonna be hard. Same thing with Yu Yu Hakusho, same thing with Pokemon, just stuff like that. You just kind of like, it's just something about it. It could just be me. But I've been talking about for 9 minutes already, so I didn't even want to make the video this long. I really just wanted to rant and talk about why old school anime has that, just such a nostalgic feeling, why it was so different from what we have now. And another disclaimer, I still love what we got now. I'm not trying to be like a band, like, oh, old school anime is like the best. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I love old school anime. That's all I wanted to say. Like always, man, please do me a favor, like and subscribe, and y'all know what it is. Y'all have a blessed day.